Please welcome to the stage Intel Capital Vice President, Managing Director, Brian Wolf.
Hey, welcome back from lunch, everybody. We've got two exceptional sessions left before we bring the curtains down on this show, so sit back and enjoy. As many of you know, or I think most of you know, I have the opportunity to chair the Intel Capital Investment Committee. I think that's the best seat in the house. Not only do I get to see all these innovative companies that come our way, but on occasion I also get the opportunity to meet some of the thought leaders behind these companies. And we're fortunate to have one of those thought leaders with us here today. Dr. Yonatan Wexler is the world-renowned researcher in computer vision who's conducted research at the University of Maryland, Oxford University, the Weizmann Institute, and Microsoft. He's currently the Executive Vice President of R&D at OrCam. That's a company that was actually founded by Amnon of Mobileye, who you met earlier in this show. Sorry, Dr. Yoni is currently, like I said, the Executive Vice President of R&D. What OrCam has done is they've developed an innovative and unique product that helps the visually impaired and blind in their everyday lives. And so here to talk about that product, as well as how technology in general can really change people's lives for the good, please join me in welcoming Dr. Yoni Wexler to the stage.
Hi. So I'll start with a question. When you walk down the street and you notice a blind person, how do you know they are blind? With a white cane, right? Now, don't you find it mind-boggling that we live in the 21st century and the best thing we can give a blind person is a stick, right? Now, OrCam is changing the world by allowing blind people to read and understand the world around them. And we do this by creating unique wearable devices that are truly life-changing. And since we're in wearables, I'll give a quick review of what wearables are. So the first notable device is probably a watch, which gives us some global measurement. The next step would be a pedometer that gives us something about ourselves. And the next step would be an activity tracker that takes those measurements and gamifies them into a goal. And we reach the smartwatch, which doesn't really add much, actually. It's just another screen. Now, we claim and we think that in order to create real added value for wearables, they have to have a unique and capability that adds to our life. Or in other ways, it needs an extraordinary value. And we identified so far two groups which we can provide an extraordinary value. The first one is, as Brian said, is the visually impaired. Now, this includes blind people, visually impaired, dyslexic, people with reading fatigue, and various other conditions like aphasia. And I'll show you soon what we do for them. And the next group is with a new device that we're going to launch soon. It's still in beta. And we're still working on the name, but the goal is social health analytics. And I'll tell you a bit more about it. But let's first start with the MyEye, the device for the blind. Now, imagine going to the supermarket and you want to buy cheese. And you get to the cheese aisle and this is what you see. And you know where the cheese is, usually, unless someone moved it. And you take something and you feel it. And you're not really sure if it is the product that you're actually looking for. It feels the same, maybe it smells the same, but you're not sure. And this is the reality for hundreds of millions of people around the world. And it's, of course, not only cheese, because once you get the product that you want, you need to go pay for it. And you need to find the cashier, you need to find the cash, you need to know how much money you're giving, how much change you're getting back. And then you need to get to work, so you need to navigate your way through the streets. And when you meet people, you need to know who they are. And being visually impaired is very tough. And until recently, there wasn't much help for this community. But we created one. Now, the MyEye is a tiny wearable device that clicks onto any pair of glasses, just like this. And using AI, it reads any text you ask it to read on any surface. And it whispers in your ear the information you can no longer perceive. And with this device, you point at something, and it'll tell you. For example, I can take a brochure, and I can point, and it'll read it to me.
Sebastian Joachim,
See?
professional boxer. OrCam MyEye
And I can stop it just like that. And it just reads. And I can point to a shirt, it'll tell me the color. And I can point to a banknote, it'll tell me it's 20 bucks. And I can point to a product, and it'll tell me it's the cheese that I want. And I can look at a friend, and it'll tell me who it is. Now, I'll show you a fuller demo, just so you can get a feel. Can you show us what the device does?
Yeah, sure.
Yonatan Wexler.
Oh, it already recognized you. Let's see who else. Hi, Gil. Hi.
What else can you do?
So the device can read from any printed surface and recognize colors. Let me show you how it works. Take newspaper and read by pointing.
The most coveted free agent slugger on the market has final.
How do you stop it?
Home. Outfielder.
Open my hand and it just stops. I can also recognize any color by pointing.
Green gray area.
Or any fruit.
Light green area.
Perfect. You can also tell me the time and the date by a simple hand gesture.
The time is 12:25 p.m. Today is Sunday, May 6th, 2018.
Thanks.
So the MyEye is ready for your cue. And as soon as you point it to something, it's in operation. And there's no waiting. And that makes it a really useful productivity tool. And everything happens inside this tiny box. So it's very reliable. It's not dependent on anything. And it also doesn't record anything or send any information elsewhere. It only tells you the information that you want whenever you want it. And just to see, to get a feel of what's going on inside this tiny box, see what happens when you show the device a newspaper. It immediately finds the letters, connects them into words, and to sentences and paragraphs, and then articles, so it's ready to read to you whenever you need. This tiny version was launched earlier this year, and we already have about 10,000 customers, probably more by now. Currently, we're selling in 25 countries, and there's about 16 different languages. And it's actually not just one device, it's a whole platform. And that platform, and you've seen a lot of AI-related material here, so I'll just give you a quick view. So there's reading, as you saw. There's pattern recognition for various tasks. There's face recognition, gesture recognition. We identify products and barcodes for millions of products and colors. And the goal, the end goal for us is what we call an AI complete system, where it gives you much more information that even us reading people would take time to figure out. For example, you can say, oh, could you read the article about the Yankees? Or you can say, oh, you hold the menu and you say, oh, what's for lunch? And the device tells you. And there's voice recognition coming up and a whole slew of natural language interaction and various orientation features that are very important for blind people. For example, finding the actual handle of a door that is very useful. Now, I want you to understand the importance of such technology and how much it changes people's lives. So I can tell you that there are about 300 million people in the world that are visually impaired. And there's an even larger number that have severe dyslexia and reading fatigue. And I can also show you this article from a few days ago about a US veteran that says, I don't feel disabled anymore. Or I can show you another article of a blind child, a blind kid in England that says, you actually don't have to read the article. You just look at that smile, which says, right, it says, wow, I can read. And my life has just changed 180 degrees because now I can read whatever I want. So I can study whatever I want, and I can work in whatever I want, and I will excel in any direction and any field that I want to put my mind to. But unless you know these people or have someone in your family, it might not mean much to you. So let us think about our grandparents. Anyone here had grandparents who used hearing aids? Yeah? So imagine there was no such thing as a hearing aid. So your grandparents wouldn't have heard your voice. And they would have been cut off from you, and you would have been cut off from them. And I think about my grandparents and all the stories and memories. The MyEye is like a hearing aid for the eyes. It connects people to the world that in previous generations would have been cut off and drift off to the darkness. But a hearing aid is a fairly simple piece of technology. It's a loudspeaker in your ear. And if you go completely deaf, it's of no use. The MyEye costs as much as a hearing aid, but it's much more complex. And even if you go completely blind, it can still help you see. And think about it for a moment. OrCam helps blind people see. Now, isn't that truly life-changing technology? Right? So with this tiny device, which is intuitive, it's reliable, it's personal, and it's private, and it lets you choose, it lets you travel, it lets you study, and it lets you work, and it lets you socialize. And as we ship the last feature of face recognition, we got a phone call from one of our customers. And he called me and he said, you know what I just did? I updated the software, and I opened Facebook, and I put all my friends on the screen, and I taught the device how they look. It takes 5 seconds per person or so. And then I ran out to meet them, to show them that I can recognize them, even though I'm blind. Then we thought, wow, this is a real, true need that everybody has. Because socializing is a very important part of our life, not just for the visually impaired. And there's lots of research about this. And in the last few years, that shows that loneliness has a much stronger effect on our health than even smoking. It's very detrimental. And it's so big, it's such a big problem that in England, they just appointed a minister for loneliness, just to tackle that problem. So how can we help people socialize with a wearable device? Well, I'll let someone else show you.
Oh my God, I just can't remember what his name is. I just saw his name this morning on this. Oh, I know this. It's something to do. Wait, he was part of the. Oh God, I know this.
It's Ambassador Franklin, and that's the woman that he left his wife for, Rebecca.
Rebecca. Ambassador?
Because remembering people is a common pain point, and our brains are not wired to remember all the people that we meet nowadays, because it's really larger numbers. And knowing who's in front of us is the first step for communication. Now, we all have it for free, usually, in social media or in emails, right? You get an email from Joe, and you scroll back, you say, oh yeah, I was talking with him about this and that, and you can form a clever reply, and you're done. And you can maintain thousands of connections like this. But in real life, we don't have that luxury. You walk somewhere, you bump into someone, and you have to figure out on the spot who it is and what you were talking about, and do the context switch. And obviously, that leads to a lot of missed opportunities. So we created another device. And like the first one, it's a tiny wearable. It's extremely smart. It's an AI platform. And it replaces the two assistants you saw in the movie. And you just wear it like this on your shirt, just like this one. And you give it all the people that you want to meet or you want to know. So you can import everyone from your calendar, from your phone book, from your emails. In a conference like this, you can take the attendee list and put it inside the device, all your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn contacts, Google Photos, anything else. And the device just memorizes them. And when you meet someone, the device will ping you. It can give you a notification on your phone or your watch, and it'll tell you their name, if it knows the name, or it'll say, oh, I don't know who it is, but you met them 6 months ago in a different conference in New York. And you met them with these people that you may know. So it's enough context. And if it does know, it can give you the title and everything else. So all of a sudden, it gives you the advantage that you have in written communication, in online communication. You have it in your real life. Who wants one of these? All right, you're on the list. Beta coming soon. And as you walk through the day, the device keeps track of the people that you meet, and it tells you their names, and it also keeps a log. And that by itself is another extremely useful feature. Because you can tag the people, and you can get the real work-life balance that you have. And this is my work-life balance, which I'm pretty happy with. It's about 80% work, about 20% life. And if you look at the left-hand side, it's the average over the last 6 months. But if you look at the right-hand side, it's it's a typical week. And you can see that on the weekend I'm with my family, which is reasonable. And this measures not GPS locations. It measures actual face-to-face time, actual socializing time. And the work-life balance is a very famous measure that tells us, and again, there's lots of research about it in the past few years, that work-life balance has a critical effect on our happiness. And our happiness has critical effect and major effect on our productivity and on our health. Because if we can be productive at work, we have more time for other things. And everything mixes together, and you need something that tells you what exactly happens around you. So for example, I keep track of how I manage my teams. This is how I spend my time in the last about 6 months. And you can see the amount of time I spend with each one of the teams. And for example, you can see that in January, I spent lots of time with the sales team because we were at CES, and it was a big hoo-ha. And as CES was over, I realized, well, I neglected my other teams. For the next month or so, I need to spend more time with the algorithms, with the MyMe, which is this device, or the MyEye, which is the other device for the blind. And looking back, I actually achieved it, and I'm very proud of myself. But if I hadn't achieved it, there would be an alarm that tells me, well, you wanted to spend less time on this. I can also measure the mood around me. And once again, this is real data from the past week. And I don't know if you can see, but so this shows the two teams, the MyEye and the MyMe. And you can see that the MyEye team was very, very stressed in the past week to get everything working for today. And there's another thing I can do. And I'm sure it happened to each and every one here. Did you ever come home on Friday and you fall on the couch and you tell your spouse, wow, I had a crazy week? And she says, yeah, what happened? You know, did something big happen? And you say, I don't know what happened. It was crazy. You know, it was just crazy. It was hectic. She says, oh, well, let's look what happened. And you look at your calendar, and it seems fine. You know, maybe move a meeting here or there, but you know. But with the MyMe, I can now get what really happened through that week. So if this was the weekly plan, I can do a weekly review and see what really happened. And you can see that I had no time for anything. And I had people coming in and out. And I spent a lot of time with this guy. And maybe I spent too little time with that guy. And for the next week, I know what I'm going to do. And I want to carve that piece of time for me, for the things that I need to do by myself. Because this is real data that I can actually use to better myself. And we all know what can't be measured can be improved. And this is a real measurement device for your real life. And I can also get a leaderboard of who fills my time. And there's quite a few other, it's a bit funny. Like if you look at just the work, you see my team leads. But if I look at overall, you know, my wife joins me there as the last person on the list. Which is fine. And once again, this is a platform. So this is our first offering is with the face recognition. But very soon, we're coming out with conversation topics and emotional intelligence and dietary habits and habit gamification in general. So you can choose what you want to improve and what to do, and you'll get that information. So if I go back to my original claim, what is the extraordinary value that we provide? And we strongly believe that AI plays a key role in creating a new type or a new breed of devices. Devices that can sense your environment and give you information that you couldn't get before. It's not just another screen. It's a completely new source of information about your real life, that you can improve yourself and better yourself. And it gives us a superpower that we don't have otherwise. And it lets us go beyond our limitations. And as such, we believe that the MyMe will be the first smart wearable device that helps us be actually social. Thank you.